Hey, what's going on, guys? Nick from Practically Tactical. So myself and Greg are out the range here, and we're doing a first shots video on our Tikka T3 here with our Burris Eliminator 2. Apologize for the wind. It is terrible out here. So we're going to stop talking and get shooting.
Before we get started, I'd really like to give a shout out to Parma Rod and Gun Club. As you guys can see, these guys have a fantastic facility. Obviously, steel out to 700 yards as well. I believe you can go out to 12 or 1,400 yards as well there. So if you guys are in the area, please check out Parma Rod and Gun Club. Big shout out to them. I would like to start with a quick little overview here on the Optic, as I think that is really important. So on the screen here, you can basically see how the Optic operates. You push the button on the left, also called the main button, that turns on the device. You press it again on your target, and it gives you the range of that target. You use the center of the crosshairs to get that range. Now you also see there, I'm going to put up a picture just so you can see it a little bit better, is when you laser target and you have in your load data, it puts in a little bright little red light on the crosshairs that gives you your elevation for the shot. So basically it gives you your holdover. So there was a quick little overview on the Optic. There will be some more detailed videos to come out on the Optic as we work through the complete review process. So there it is for you guys. I hope you guys find this Optic intriguing as I do. But now let's go ahead and jump into the actual shooting.
Ready?
Yep, ready, you can send it.
Now, so you can see here of the video of us going through the sight in process. And I would like to mention that, yes, this Optic is battery operated.
It hit higher.
Now, why that is important is this Optic is basically, there's technology integrated into it, which means you have a higher rate of failure and you're dependent on other products, i.e. the batteries. Now, I will tell you this is with this Optic, you must always carry additional batteries with you. This Optic we gathered, I acquired it, I should say, at the beginning of this year, and I'll go into more detail about that, why I think it's a great buy. But basically, as soon as I bought it, I put a new battery into it, and I haven't messed with it much, except when we got out to Idaho. I showed it off a few times, and that was about it. When we showed up to the range, the battery was dead. So something with this Optic that we learned is, even while it's not being used, there still is a low drain on the battery, which over time will drain the battery completely. So the sighting process that you are seeing, which a credit to the Optic, I believe, is we sighted in this Optic with a 100-yard zero without the battery. So if it comes to the point of where you actually had to use the Optic without the batteries, it can be done. In fact, I'll be showing you later here where we reach out to 600 yards without a working Optic, and we hit steel. So let's talk about the gun a little bit here. This is the Tikka T3 Lite in 308. Focus would be on the Lite. This firearm, the specific model and barrel length, comes in at about 6.5 pounds, which I can tell you is very light. So I can tell you right away what this firearm is without a muzzle device or a silencer. Recoil is felt. Obviously, it's designed to be a lightweight gun for hunting, that sort of firearm, to where you're carrying it more than shooting it. So what we did today was definitely more than it's built for, at least at this point in time. So that is something to think about. If you purchase this firearm, I would highly recommend, especially if you're making a precision rifle out of it, to get the barrel threaded, and again, make sure you have a quality company do that threading, and add a muzzle device to it. I could definitely recommend, because if you're going to do a bench shooting like this all day, man, a threaded device, a muzzle device or silencer is going to make a huge difference. But now I will go through a couple aspects about the gun here. We did find the action to be extremely smooth. Whether it was hot, whether it was cold, it did not matter. The action was incredibly smooth, easy to lock down, and we never had any issues, never had to think about it. All ammo was just easily, we threw it in, without using the magazine, unloading and loading the magazine every time. Just throw it in the chamber, lock it shut, good to go. Never had an issue with that either. So everything with this firearm is fantastic. This would probably be one of the very first guns that I've owned that I've not wanted to do anything to the trigger to. The trigger is adjustable from 2 to 4 pounds. It comes stock as 3, and I'll tell you what, I am perfectly fine with leaving the trigger as it is. In fact, at this recent SHOT Show 2015, I actually stopped by the Timney booth to talk to them about the Tikka T3 rifles. They do not actually offer a trigger for the Tikka T3, and the reason that I was told is because the out-of-the-box trigger that comes in the gun is just too good. There's really not a market for aftermarket Tikka T3 triggers. So that is what Timney told me, and you know what? I gotta agree with him. Everything about this gun just screams quality, and out of the box, you are good to go. So we sighted in this firearm with a 100-yard zero. We're dealing with a lot of wind, and actually we were kind of rushed for time due to some other type of variables. But we put about a 1-inch group together out of this gun without a working optic. And so after that is basically when we decided, okay,
You want to go to that one?
let's go out to 600 yards. So let's move on to some shooting footage from the 600-yard shooting without the optic working.
Oh yeah, that's probably 600.
That's 600. The one out there is... That one out there might be 1,000.
So the shooting that you'll see here is we have our 100-yard zero in. We are moving out to the 600-yard mark without the optic working. So actually at this point in time, I had already hit the round steel target that you'll see here shortly. And then we moved on to Greg taking an attempt at it. Now,
so you're still aiming at the same
our
spot
initial
while
concerns with the optic were that the reticle in the optic is too large to be, precise, because we didn't drive out there, but I'm assuming this is about a 12-inch plate or so just by looking at it through the optic and through the video here. So that's a pretty relatively small target, at that range for us to be shooting without a quote-unquote working optic with a slightly larger reticle. However, as you'll see here, without the batteries in it, we came pretty close on just about all of our shots, as you'll see here, of hitting the actual steel target. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, okay, that's great, but what about with a working optic? Well, let's jump into the working optic, and we'll move out to 700 yards. And this will give you guys an idea of just exactly how caught off guard we were, of exactly how precise this optic can be with it actually working. But before that, let's give Greg a little bit of credit here. Let's move on to a shot where he actually hits the steel out of 600 yards, and then we'll move out to 700 yards. Now, let's move out to 700 yards at the Parma Rod and Gun Club.
All right.
So here we are shooting out to 700 yards, and this is the look through my Burris spotting scope, 20 to 60. I can't remember the exact model. But now, you might be saying to yourself with this, how exactly precise can you be with the optic? Well, it's not a precision shooting optic, but when we didn't hit, which we estimated to be about an 18-inch plate here, could be slightly smaller, we were really, really close. Now, it should be noted here that we had a lot of wind. We actually had wind coming towards us, and we had wind coming to the right. So I believe we had some swirling wind as well as coming at us and to the right. So it made the holdover extremely difficult. Now, I should also mention here, this is the Burris Eliminator 2. The new model, the Burris Eliminator 3, has windage you can put into it as well. So it not only will give you a holdover, but I need to research more into it, but I believe you put in a windage, and it will give you your windage for holding left to right. So obviously, that would really kind of dial you in here. But as you can see here, just from the optic, when we actually had it working, if we were off, we were only barely missing. Also should be noted here, there's another shooter off to our right here. So if you see any shots that don't go out to the steel, that is a shooter off to our right. But let's go ahead here and just view some more shooting to see exactly how close the Burris Eliminator 2 puts you out at 700 yards, shooting about an 18-inch plate.
Low. You were left.
Really?
Yeah. Just low.
All right, one out. Here we go.
Look, just that's it. Yeah.
So you can see Greg's first hit right there at 714 yards. And then basically from then on, once we kind of figured out the windage holdover, we were hitting steel all day long, as well as beating up our shoulders a little bit. But it was 100% worth it. Again, I can't emphasize that the Tikka T3 Lite is light, and a muzzle brake or silencer would be highly recommended. So basically, yeah, on this part, once we kind of got the windage figured out here, we were doing consistent hits on steel. Greg actually and I both hit back-to-back on shots again with his Optic, which, again, I think is fantastic. Once again, the wind, we got that figured out. We were hitting steel. We're beating up on the steel out there. So here's some, just kind of shooting stuff right here. But let's go ahead and jump into an actual overview part and get our thoughts here on the gun, the Optic, and how everything performed. Again, and I thank you guys for watching this much.
All right, so we're back from the range, and we thought we'd do a kind of a little summary of today. Number one, I had a friggin' blast.
It was
It's
fun.
the first time I ever shot out that far, and it's addicting. It's addicting, and you want to hit it. You want to hit bad. You want to hit every single time because it's not your fault. It's something else.
Yeah, it's always something else.
Yeah. Now, granted, we had a lot of wind today. A lot of wind and coming multiple directions and swirling. But,
a little bit of rain.
Yeah, rain too. So, but man, it was an awesome time. I really got to thank Parma Rod and Gun Club for hosting us out there as guests. Awesome range.
Amazing.
Steel everything, everywhere, targets. Fantastic place. So for those, if you're watching out in Idaho, please check out Parma Rod and Gun Club. Fantastic range. But let's do a little summary here. Let's talk rifle, then optic, and we'll move from there. So the rifle, man, we didn't have a whole lot of time at the range today to really sight it in. I think we basically put about a 1-inch group together, and then we said, okay, shift it 3 clicks to the left, let's go out. In my opinion, again, I want to sit down and maybe get a bipod or get a shooting rest. Man, it's definitely a sub-MOA gun. I think it could maybe be a half.
It's honestly just out of the box was pretty impressive. Out of the box was impressive.
Yeah, out of the box, we were pinging steel, 700 yards, 714 yards, man. Which again is just a blast. If you haven't done it, please go shoot long range. But if you did your job, the gun was doing it.
Yep.
I mean, man, yeah, out of the box, I think it's extremely accurate. I can only imagine what it would do in a full-blown chassis. But I thought the trigger's great, the action's smooth. Never had one issue with the gun, period. The magazines do feel a little cheap. They feel extremely cheap, but we never had an issue with them.
Yeah.
They're incredibly expensive, though, for being all plastic.
Yeah.
I think like $65 or $80, something like that. And the 308 only holds 3 rounds, so they're really expensive. But anything you want to add on it? I think you can really use a muzzle brake. It's being so light on the gun. Recoil was definitely there. It would be nice to get a muzzle brake or a silencer on there, but I thought it was a great gun. I'm very happy with the performance of the gun.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It really was. It was a blast to shoot. Yeah, honestly, the only things I can think of were, and the magazine really wasn't an issue. It just when you felt it, you were like, oh, that feels flimsy. Yeah. But it's almost irrelevant. Yeah. But yeah, it is super light. Like this optic is
almost as heavy as the gun. It
almost
feels
as heavy as feeling. Yeah, it really does feel like. So yeah, the recoil's a bit. I mean, we fired a lot of rounds, but I'm definitely feeling it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move on to the optic because I think that stole the show, at least for me. I was extremely surprised about number one is how quick. Well, it obviously put us on quickly on target.
Yeah. But
I was expecting a bigger dot and really kind of covering the target more. And when we're shooting, it's got to be about an 18 by 18 steel plate. We were shooting at about 700 yards. Yeah. Guessing there, it's hard to look at when you're looking through a scope or it's hard to get that exact size of it. But it was easy. It wasn't covering up the whole target. And again, this is only a 4 by 12, so it's not some massive zoom. So the reticle, I thought it was really easy. I mean, again, definitely more of a hunting gun. Yeah. But if you need to put rounds down range, you could do it with that.
Yeah.
And if we were missing, it wasn't by like oh, you're a foot left or for right. It's like, hey, you were just under it.
Yeah.
You were just the left or right of it. Man, I was extremely surprised.
Yeah, I was too. To be completely honest, I wasn't expecting it out of this.
No.
At all. I really, really wasn't. I actually do have a lot of experience with laser sights and, the
Range finding.
And so I was really skeptical. And to be honest, when we went, we pulled up the actual load that we were going to use, the actual round, and we put it in after our battery issue.
Yeah, that is something too. Keep an eye on the battery. It's something I should point out is put a new battery in it, I don't know, a month or two ago, but really hadn't used it at all. The only time it really been played with was here in Idaho, and we went to the range today and it was dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
So, but even still, I mean, we got it zeroed without it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of an issue. But yeah, I grabbed a quick lunch, put in the battery, put in the load that we were using, and we just YOLO'd.
Yeah.
We YOLO'd it. The very first shot we did was 714, I believe.
Yep.
We ranged it. It gave us a range, and like I've always said, don't let a rangefinder be your handicap.
Yeah.
Be able to guess range. It came up. It was accurate. I felt comfortable with the range that it gave me.
Yeah.
And it gave us our holdover, and first shot just right on. At that point, I was like, wow, get out of here.
Now, that is something we should point out, too. So we know that it was at 714 yards because they told us it was. But we did, later in the day, I think when it's a little sunnier, we could we could laze the actual steel plate. Yeah. But when it wasn't, we did have some issues getting a range on the steel plate. So what we do is there was a little hill in front of it. It was like 677, laze that, and then we were able. That's what I did for that first 700-yard shot. First shot they hit at 700 yards. First shot they hit, I did it based off of a 675 yardage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And hit it. And
that was one thing I was going to add. It seemed like once you hit that 700-yard range on this, it really struggled getting that range where you would just sit there and you would hit it 3 or 4 times before it would give it to you. And then that's another tip that you can throw in here. If any of y'all do use like anything like this, a good tip is if you have a berm behind it, just laze the berm. Don't waste your time lazing the target. And what I ended up doing was just lazing the base. Yeah. I was just laze the base of it, but it was still close enough to put you right on. And it was impressive. I mean, I couldn't believe it was that precise when you just put in the load and it gives you just that minuscule little holdover and you put it on and you were there. I just trusted it and it put it on. It was even when it wasn't right on it was like you were saying, it was like, man, anything could have changed that.
Well, yeah, wind, we weren't shooting match grade ammo. We were shooting 147 grain, PMC bronze, so nothing fancy, cheap, affordable ammo. So, yeah, I'm extremely happy. I can only imagine so this is Eliminator 2, the Burris Eliminator 2. The 3 also has windage and stuff. I don't know much about it, but I can only imagine having, going instead from this model of a 4 to 12, a 4 to 16 with available to put in, windage for laser range finding.
And even for this, when you pull up the manual, how many different kinds of ammunition was in that? We were like scrolling to find ours. So
well, all we got to do is, for example, we actually went off of the L&B, the Lelat and Beloit, however you say their name, 308. We had to go. We just punched in that info because it was very similar to PMC bronze. PMC bronze wasn't in the catalog. But it was by far close enough, But again, with this optic, if you hand load and all you need is a ballistic calculator, and you punch in all the info, find out your drop find out your drop. I think at 500 yards for 100 yards 0, 200 yards 0. Punch it in, you're good to go. Yeah. So I can only imagine if I don't know. I'm actually really surprised by the optic.
I can't. I honestly, I went out there really expecting it to be kind of like you said, just a hunting optic. It was, I don't know. I didn't expect that much out of it. I really didn't. And then, just that first shot, and then once you really kind of got you understood kind of how it worked a little bit more, it was just, and it did the job more than enough. Honestly, I feel like if we had another target beyond 700 yards, I feel pretty comfortable stretching it even further with this. Easily. Yeah. Easily. I was impressed. Definitely.
No, I definitely was too. And again, I didn't expect that well of accuracy. Yeah. If there was a 36-inch gong at 700 yards, we would hit that thing every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Every single time. We never would have missed. Ever.
Yeah. So I think as a hunting optic early on, this is a great hunting optic. Something that obviously gives you a little better target than a precision optic, obviously. But
Yeah.
no, I'm extremely happy with today. I thought it shot great. The optic was awesome. The base held up. I was a little iffy about the base, but it held up as well. Optic held up. And again, we put 150 rounds, give or take 20, somewhere in there.
We put enough rounds downrange to really get the gun. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it
wasn't a first shots video. It should have been like a first lots of shots video.
Yeah, I mean, we did, with our little bit of an optic issue with the battery at the beginning, we spent quite a few more rounds.
But it should be noted, though, that without the battery, we sighted in at 100 yards. And we still hit the target at 600 yards.
Yeah.
We still hit the steel target at 600 yards without the optic functioning. So if somebody was worried about it, and you could walk in your bullets for some reason, you can do it. Or again, if you talk about with a 308 and knowing how to judge distance, once you kind of familiarize with the optic.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, like 308 is an easy round to judge as it is if no one's really shot that much.
Yeah.
It is an easy round, and then honestly, I mean, when you do lay something on this, it keeps up that holdover for a while.
That was another thing that was really nice. So we could shoot, I don't know, 8 times, 7, 8 times.
You could,
and it was no problem.
Before it cleared out. I think the only thing that I thought was just a tiny bit awkward about it was at that really long distance, it was like, in here.
Yeah, that was something too. So if each of my fingers here is a dot, it would give you like 4 dots of, it's somewhere in here. So that was another thing. But yeah, at that range, it kind of...
Yeah, at that range, it was...
Yeah, it kind of is. Like I said, I am extremely happy with the performance of the rifle, the optic, especially at 700 yards is no joke.
No.
And we're not having it in a bench rest.
No.
We don't have any things to shoot on. We're laying it on a backpack and shooting it. And it wasn't like we shoot, wait for the rifle to get cold bore again and shoot it. No.
Yeah.
We're just like dumping rounds. So I thought the gun held extremely accurate, especially with, we had a hot barrel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like the optic carried the rifle, and I don't feel like the rifle carried the optic.
Yeah.
I think they were both, like, I mean, I would be fine just shooting this.
Yeah.
Like, I really would. It was awesome. It was really good.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, that was just, I kind of wanted to wrap up the first shooting of this rifle for you guys here. And again, man, I'm tempted to go buy another Tikka in like 223 just so I can have a 223 bolt action. And yeah, I kind of want to get my hands on the Burris Eliminator 3 now, just after. Because I mean, we were at the range and everybody was like, well, what's that? Look at that. Oh, man, that's awesome, Which we should mention too, we met some, I don't remember his name. Oh, there's my phone. No clue who that is. Sorry about that. So, I should mention too, we got that dude, we walked him in, he shot 700 yards out of a finished Mosin, and we walked him into the plate.
Just open sight.
Open sight, yeah, he hit 700 yard optic.
Yeah. It was impressive.
Yeah, we walked him in a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty cool. But no, everybody was interested at the range, so I can't wait to shoot longer range with that and see what it can do.
Yeah, it was impressive. Like even, I mean, like I said, when we didn't have that battery functioning or whatever, and I mean, it really wasn't that much effort to get this rifle on, and I mean, we were still shooting long distance without the like functioning optic, like all the capabilities, and it was still like, dude, I mean, we spent maybe 5 whole minutes actually kind of going, okay, well, let's kind of get it on, Yeah. And after that, it was pow, pow. Just right where you wanted it. It was amazing.
Yeah. No, it was. And again, too, we did it off of, we thought we originally have to do a 200 yard zero for that optic to go out to 700. 100 yard was perfectly fine.
Yeah, 100 was,
perfectly fine.
It was perfect.
Yeah. But so, guys, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. If you guys got any questions about anything on the gun here, please put them down below. Any other recommendations you guys might have, please drop it in below. Let me know your thoughts. I would definitely appreciate it. So until next time, guys, take care.